Well, it's the end of 2021, and what a year it's been. Here on Save the Water, it's our end of the year review, where we continue to look at the great things that happen, not just here in Spartan Nation, not just in the city of Norfolk or Hampton Roads, but in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's Save the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Claville. We'll be back in just a moment. It's Save the Water. Welcome back. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. We want to thank you again for joining us on this beautiful Sunday here in Hampton Roads, Virginia, in the city of Norfolk, on the campus of the Norfolk State University, broadcasting live from the new sound of Hot 91, the soul of VA 91.1 FM. You know, we wouldn't be what we are without you, the listeners, and without the support of the Spartan Nation. You know, we have a proud alumni all across the world that's doing phenomenal things, breaking barriers, and leading the charge of excellence in every field. And today we're going to highlight just one of these examples of Spartans doing phenomenal things, because just on yesterday, we graduated our 107th commencement exercise. Over 400 Spartans that's going out and doing great things in the world. And one of our very own that graduated yesterday with his master's in cybersecurity is our Marvin Folks, also known as DJ Scandalous, that broadcasts live here from 2 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Marvin, congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you so much, sir. I truly appreciate it. Dr. Eric Claville, you've been such a tremendous help for me throughout the year of 2020 all the way till now. And Hot 91 will always be family. And thank you so much for supporting me through the Bachelor's of Information Technology right here at Norfolk State University and the Master's in Cybersecurity. Once again, thank you, NSU. Absolutely.
You know, it's amazing to see the maturation process from the music industry into this area of cybersecurity, information science. I mean, it's phenomenal. And you're not going to stop there, right?
Not at all. Not at all. Going to keep this thing going. Representing for Black men in tech. They say that we are 7% in the technology industry.
Wow.
And my hopes are to raise those numbers, raise the bar up higher. We have phenomenal talent right here in the computer science department. Big shouts out to everybody in the computer science department. Dr. Hopper, Dr. Who, Dr. Ola, Dr. Williams. I mean, everybody, Dr. Hines, Dr. Graham. It's a lot of great professors there. Top of the line education that you get right here at Norfolk State University, whether it's computer science, information technology, cybersecurity, information assurance, all of those things related to the theory and the information to your systems. So
Absolutely. Now, you talk about, wanting to be a part of the solution. And we're going to talk about a forum that we put on, because in the first half of this show, we're going to look at an end of the year review of great things that happened here on the campus of Norfolk State University in order to impact our community and the greater Commonwealth at large, and really across the country. But I wanted you to talk a little bit about the commencement ceremony yesterday. Here, the commencement ceremony was yesterday. Our commencement speaker was none other than now Dr. Pharrell Williams, who received the honorary doctorate of humane letters and gave us such an inspiring commencement speech. I mean, he really spoke from his heart. Not only that, but he talked about how his inspiration for being the music mogul that he's become was really here watching the Spartan Legion band, and how, he wanted to be just like them. And that really, he took that discipline into his career and started the Neptunes and what he is today. He never forgot it. And on yesterday, the Spartan Legion Band made him an honorary band member. And I was on stage when that was presented. They gave him a band uniform that was performed at one of the prestigious performances that the Legion performed at. And not only that, It was encased in glass, preserved for him. And let me tell you, he got the humane letters, and that was a joyful moment for him. But when he got that, when he got that band uniform,
yes,
if you want to see a grown man cry, he was in tears. I mean, it moved the entire platform. I was fortunate enough to serve. Again, I'm fortunate enough to serve in the presidential cabinet with our phenomenal leader, Dr. J.
Dr. J.
I'm telling you, great things happening here on this campus since she's arrived. We both arrived at the same time. I'm just going to put that out there. So great things are happening. And not just that, but on the platform and seeing those tears of joy, phenomenal. And then speaking with him afterwards, how happy he was. From the audience, because you were on the front row.
Yes.
As a master's and graduate school graduate, in hearing his commencement ceremony speech, in walking across the stage yourself, seeing him hooded as now Dr. Pharrell Williams, and then seeing him receive that band uniform, give us your perspective on how that affected you.
It was just so surreal for me because, for one, we are both from Virginia Beach. I graduated from Bayside High School, 2006. He graduated from Princess Anne High School, I believe, 91 or 92, something like that. Well, Bayside and Princess Anne are rivalry schools. Our bands, our football teams, basketball teams are right up the street. So I've always been inspired by Pharrell as a young kid, as a teenager. And then we both happen to share the same musical mentor, which is Teddy Riley, at different times. So Pharrell was under Teddy Riley's tutelage in the early 90s when he was a teenager, and I was under Teddy Riley's tutelage as a teenager in the mid 2000s. Okay. So to be able to see him receive the honorary doctorate and to become an official member of the Spartan Legion of a university that is a legacy for me, because my mother graduated with her bachelor's and master's from Norfolk State University. My sister graduated with her bachelor's and master's from Norfolk State University. And now I've just graduated 2020 with my bachelor's and 2021 with my master's from Norfolk State University. Wow. So to see that, it just changed the atmosphere in the room. Everything that he said, like you said, he spoke from the heart. It was true. I was honored to have pretty much, front row seats with being a master's degree, candidate, graduate. So absolutely. It really touched me. Dr. J has done such a phenomenal job right here in Norfolk State, turned things around just in 2 years. Even with you, you said you came in at the same time as her. I never really understood politics. I grew up in music as a kid and as a teenager, and I never really was taught anything about politics. I know a ton about music and things of that nature, and of course now I know a ton about cybersecurity, but being around you every year has strengthened my knowledge in political science. So both you and Dr. J, and with you being her executive advisor, it's just perfect. It's perfect. I posted on Instagram and Facebook yesterday. I said Norfolk State is loving and nurturing, and you can tell that yesterday Pharrell received that love and that nurturing.
Absolutely. Hearing it from your perspective, like I said, that legacy that you have in your family, from your parents to now you and your sister receiving both the same level of degrees, your bachelor's and master's, doing phenomenal things, and you coming from the music industry. Like I said, that mentorship, that tutelage you receive under the great Teddy Riley, Grammy Award winning Teddy Riley.
Yes.
Also here out of Virginia Beach.
Yes.
So much talent just in this region.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing. And the fact that, in one thing Pharrell mentioned, he said in 5 years.
5 years.
It's going to be different.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm so happy that that you all, because you're part of the president's cabinet, y'all work very hard to change Norfolk State around. I mean, the funding has grown, the education has grown, the course numbers have grown. The summer school, I remember one time it was tough to get summer courses here in Norfolk State. Now we have a lot of summer courses, which allowed me to graduate now because I took summer courses full time this past summer. And that's how I was able to graduate with my master's in just a year and 4 months in cybersecurity. So it's just phenomenal things going on right here. Yesterday was very up close and personal, intimate. I was honored to be able to just walk this past May, because I graduated May 2020 with my bachelor's in information technology, but that's when the pandemic hit. So we weren't allowed to walk. So I got to walk this past May, and it was great, but it was really something special about yesterday that everybody really felt the atmosphere change and you felt encouraged. My sister is a counselor, a school counselor at Bayside 6th grade campus, and that's in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
You know, she said she was really moved by Pharrell's words, being a counselor in Virginia Beach and also a resident of Virginia Beach. So it was phenomenal.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And not only that, but when you talk about the love in SU for its graduates, there was another great moment as well in the graduation where we had a graduate who unfortunately passed away before she had 119 credit hours. You know, and even now it's emotional. I mean, I'm looking at you, I'm feeling the emotion of it. And they awarded her, you know, her certificate recognition showing her graduation, you know, to her daughter, you know. And I mean, I mean, come on. How much, I mean, when you talk about love, when you talk about recognition, because she would have graduated this semester, but unfortunately life deals us those cards. And we've had a lot of people pass away in 2020, 2021. COVID, you know, really took a lot of people out, you know, from, you know, I know back in my family, you know, individuals that are close to us, you know, we know either someone in our family or someone connected to us that COVID really, unfortunately, took their lives. But we're talking about triumph in the middle and in the midst of these events, you know, and triumph and victory in the midst of going through all of the issues that we've had. And in this end of the year review, you know, this shows the positive things that have happened for us. And that moment to me, I'm telling you, I cried twice yesterday. Then when she got her recognition posthumously, and then of course when Pharrell received,
same here,
you know, his being an honorary member of the Legion Band.
Very, very emotional. Some of my guys sitting next to me that graduated with me in cybersecurity and some in computer science, you know, I could see them kind of looking at me through the peripheral of my eye view. And I'm like, hey, man, you know, look, it's just a fan blowing in here or something. Or, you know, they cooking some onions, cutting some onions or something, man. But, yeah, it was phenomenal. Everybody spoke great. Even Bishop Kim Brown.
Absolutely.
You know, with his prayers and just everything, man. It was really beautiful. It was the protocol and the guidelines for COVID went really, really smooth. They had complimentary breakfast for us. Absolutely.
So again, you know, not only that, but we also had another phenomenal story during graduation. And we had a Cadet Exum, who was commissioned as an officer, you know, in the U.S. Army.
Yes.
But not just him, but the amazing story about this. And that was one of our phenomenal professors here, Dr. Sharon Austin, I was social work, that alerted me to this story because a family member alerted her. And we were able to highlight this story with one of our news stations. Many of you probably saw it on WVEC here in the local area, and also some national publications are picking up, Stars and Stripes Military. But when you talk about a legacy of greatness, so he graduated here from Norfolk State University, commissioned second lieutenant. Now he's a twin as well. And his twin graduated from Virginia State, commissioned in the U.S. Army.
Oh, wow.
But his father's also a twin. And his father and his uncle also graduated and were commissioned here at Norfolk State University. And his mother also graduated from here and was also commissioned in the U.S. military. And his relative, who was one of the Tuskegee Airmen, was also commissioned and served in the U.S. Army.
Get out of here. Wow.
Phenomenal story. For you guys that are out there that want to see that story, go to WVEC and you can put in the information, Exum, Cadet Graduate, Norfolk State University, and you'll see that story. But again, these are the phenomenal stories that just happened yesterday. Just yesterday. And I'm pretty sure there are many, many, many more that, you know, are not highlighted. But that just gives you an example of the great things that are happening here at the Norfolk State University, home of the Spartan Nation, and the great things that our Spartans are doing. Just a small bit. This is Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Claville, and this is our end of the year review, where we take a look at great things that are happening, not just here in Spartan Nation, in the city of Norfolk, in Hampton Roads, but across the Commonwealth of Virginia and the country that are impacting us in our community. If you want to call in, we're broadcasting live here on the campus of the Norfolk State University at the new sound of Hot 91, the soul of VA, 757-823-9110. In the first half hour, we're highlighting great things that are happening here on our campus through the university. In the second half hour, we're going to look at things that are happening throughout the state on our governor's thank you tour. And one of the great things that are happening here on campus is that our community forum, Norfolk State University and the city of Norfolk hosted a community forum in order to address challenges in our community. I was fortunate enough to be the organizer of this community panel, which we had in attendance our president and Mayor Kenny Alexander, who came together to say that we want to do something to help create change and provide solutions. We know what the problems are. Now it's time to provide solutions. We also had our chief of police here in the city of Norfolk, Larry Boone, Chief Boone, our Commonwealth Attorney-elect, Attorney Fadahi, also our community engagement specialist, founder and president, CEO of Sustained Equity Group. And then from our university point, we also had our interim chief, Brian Covington, who's doing a phenomenal job. He and Deputy Chief Hyman, his entire staff. We also had Professor of Sociology, Robert Perkins, social work professor, Dr. Sharon Alston, and our Student Government Association president representing the students, Jalen Jury. You know, Marvin, in this segment where we actually brought together the community, first of all, you know, we had this on in the middle of the week, right?
Yeah.
Classes had ended and the community still came out. We had a full house in the Brothers Auditorium here in the Student Center of Norfolk State University. Not only that, but it was streamed online and carried by our local media stations. So it was streamed and we had engagement of over 300 individuals that actually were engaged in this. Now, that was the day of, both online and in person. Now, of course, there's more that have looked at it and talked, and I receive follow-up from corporate, follow-up from colleagues that are in the community, community on the ground advocates, corporate follow-up saying we want to be a part of this. We have funding to help to get these things done. Because what I saw is that people, we know what the problems are. But, you know, one focus, the focus, not one, but the focus of our president, she said, we want to be the solution base. We want to be a hub for solutions. How did that make you, from your perspective, Marvin, and the community perspective, what does that mean to this area that you grew up in? What does that mean to this institution that you're now and a two-time alumni of?
Oh, man, it means a lot because Hampton Roads, rather with, you know, sad to say, with violence, sometimes, you know, crime and things of that nature, there's been problems, there's been issues, but there have rarely been any impactful solutions. And I think Norfolk State University is now creating impactful solutions that are raising awareness. People are sharing more about the solutions on social media. They're engaging. People that, like myself included, were never really into politics or just into, you know, crime prevention. We're seeing, you know, the numbers of murder cases are starting to rise in Portsmouth.
Yes.
Things of that nature. You know, it can have a impact on the university as their relatives may go here. Some of their friends may go here. You know, we don't want those things trickling down to the community anymore. So I think that Norfolk State University is really stepping up and becoming more of a leader than what it's already been for the past, 86 years?
Wow. Absolutely. You know, one thing, if you go to our website, nsu.edu, you can take a look at the write-up on the community forum, and you can go to its coverage as well on both Wavy, WVEC, and WTKR. But one thing our president stated, she said, without vision, people will perish. But without hope, there is no cure. We, Norfolk State University, can be that beacon of hope in the outreach that we do with individuals so that we give them a way to change and shape their lives. Lastly, she stated, we will be the model for what cities and higher education should do together. We'll be able to describe it, assess it, quantify it, replicate it across the nation and across the world because what we do matters. What stuck with me is that we will be the model for what cities and higher education should do together. You know, to me, when you talked about, you know, what the university has become in the last several years, we've always had that potential. You know, things rise and fall with leadership, right? And being able to pull people together, the missing pieces to the puzzle. And that's what we've seen here on the campus, the great things that are happening, bringing the missing pieces to the puzzle to unlock the potential, unlock the greatness even more so, and move the institution further to increase its footprint here, not just within the Spartan Nation, the city, the region, the country, but really the world.
That's right. I mean, when you think about the elephant in the room forum, you know, that you helped lead and the discussion forum that y'all just had a couple of weeks ago at the Student Center, everything needs a discussion. We need more dialogue. It's not being spoken about. And that's what Norfolk State University is stepping up and doing, is speaking about it. Even with this show right here, State of the Water, every Sunday at 1 o'clock, is speaking about the issues and giving solutions to these issues every week. These things have to be discussed. You know, entertainment is fine. It's cool to, you know, get on social media and things to be entertained. But we need to share the important information as well, too. And that's what Norfolk State University is stepping up and doing and bringing that out, like you said, unlocking that potential.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we talk about unlocking the potential, you mentioned elephant in the room. You know, one thing that, you know, was that Pharrell did, of course, we were the host site for the Pharrell Williams private event that was held here on campus and bringing $3 trillion worth of assets here.
$9 trillion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Remember he came back and said that?
He did. Yeah, absolutely. $9 trillion.
Sheesh.
You know, so even three times more than, and he did make that correction.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, bringing it here, but not just to bring and have a nice evening and all that stuff. Absolutely not. But what he did was he brought it to make a difference, change. And that's what we're doing. You know, we're tapping into that potential and ensuring that this area becomes a beacon of light, you know, across the city, across the region. And so that, like one student stated, and I'm going to get to this in just a moment in the second half of the show, things that are happening across the campus on the governor's thank you tour. But he stated that the things that are happening here is not for him, but it's for 30, 50 years later, Norfolk State will still be here shining as it is today. You know, and that's about legacy building, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. When we talk about legacy building and the great things that are happening, I also want to point out that the Spartan Legion, they're raising funds because they were selected to be a part of the Rose Parade in Pasadena. So they've been invited to the 134th annual Tournament of Roses. So they are raising money for that. And this is something that, again, you know, I don't know about you, but I grew up watching parades, you know, the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade and so forth.
Same here.
But one parade that we did not miss was the Rose Bowl. Well, we call it the Rose Bowl Parade, but the Parade of Roses, you know, because, of course, we wanted to see the Rose Bowl afterwards.
That's right.
But the parade, I mean, always picturesque in Pasadena, California. Always a phenomenal parade. And it's one that people look forward to across the country every year. And the Spartan Legion will be marching in that.
Spartan, the mighty Spartan Legion. And they sound so beautiful yesterday.
Absolutely.
Goodness.
Absolutely. Oh, man, that was amazing. You know, now, of course, you know, with this, you know, we knew that our band director, William Bethea, you know, he stated when he first received the call from the committee, he knew at least they were being considered for the parade, but now they know that they are chosen for the parade. And with this, a Rose Parade appearance will expose the Spartan Legion and Norfolk State University to millions of prospective college students, faculty, new faculty, donors, and sponsors all across the globe. Think about what that can mean for NSU. And think about in the West, because most HBCUs, well, all HBCUs, are concentrated in the South and the Northeast, right?
Yes.
Or what we call the Midwest. I mean, I'm sorry, the Mid-East. They're concentrated in the Mid-East and the South.
Yes.
You have a handful in the Midwest, smaller. You get Chicago State. Of course, you have Hbcu, Harris Beecher Stowe in Missouri, and of course Oklahoma. But most are concentrated, especially the most recognized, the most with history here in the South and the Mideast. None in the West Coast.
Wow.
Right? So think about the potential for new students to come to this campus to say, you know what? There could be a kid that can be at that parade, just like Pharrell grew up.
That's right.
As a kid, and would come here, like a lot of people in this area, they would come and listen to the Spartan Legion practice, right? And say, wow, I want to be just like that. My oldest son, as a matter of fact, it's funny, we talk about this all the time. There was a flyer at his elementary school, and it was a band performing, marching band. And our kids been in music. We started them all in music and piano from they were very little. And he begged, he said, please take me to this parade. I want to see the band. I want to see the band. Please say. So it was a midweek, but we shifted some things, right? We shifted some things and we took him. Him watching that band, right now he's a part of the Howard University marching band and jazz band right now and he's been in band all his life, from that moment. So just that one experience can change a kid's perspective because, as my father stated, he said, people are the greatest investment you can make. And this is part of my ethos. This is part of how I operate, part of why I do what I do and give the way I give. He said, people is the greatest investment that you can make. Why is that? And I've surmised over my time is that because it's the only investment that knows no limit of return. That seed that all of us have in us and the seeds that we could place in the fertile soil of our minds and our heart, we care for it, give it the proper nourishment, give it the proper care, give it the proper love. Who knows? There's no limit. There's no limit to the fruit, the good fruit, the productive fruit, the encouraging fruit that it can bear and provide that same to others across the world.
That's a great way. That's a great way to say that, because it makes me think of what Tupac said. Tupac said that he's not trying to change the world. He said he's trying to spark the mind of someone else that can change the world.
Wow.
So that's that seed that you're talking about that knows no return.
No limit.
No limit of return.
No
Excuse
limit of
me.
return.
No limit of
Absolutely.
return. Wow.
And again, that's what we do here. We provide that nourishment to that seed. And then along the way, pick up other seeds that you can utilize to couple with that potential that you have. And that's why these stories are so very important. So we want you to give to the Spartan Legion on their way to Pasadena. Minimum of $700,000 they're going to need in order to make that trip across the country. I'm praying that we'll be able to be a part of that as well. We're making arrangements to be a part of that, to see them march, and not just them, but also I want to give a shout out before we go to our break, also to the men's basketball team and the work that they did and the great performance they had in the Chris Paul Hbcu Classic out in Phoenix. And hats off to Chris Paul, who's always repping for HBCUs. I mean, just a phenomenal individual himself, and one who's made an indelible impact upon HBCUs, even though he did not attend. The legacy that he has and the influence that the HBCUs have had on him, absolutely phenomenal. So, again, our coach here, what he's doing and the great things that they're doing here with the athletics, and our AD Melanie Webb, since she's come, phenomenal things are happening. So we're on a trajectory up. But listen, stay tuned. We're going to head to our quick break. We'll be back in just a moment to talk about the great things that are happening across the Commonwealth on the Governor's Thank You Tour.
Program support sponsored in part by the Chartway Arena.
We've been through a crazy time with this pandemic, but thank God we made it through.
Now come join the celebration at Festival of Praise. It's Fred Hammond with Hezekiah Walker.
Every praise.
Plus Israel Holton. April 29th at the Chartway Arena. A night to thank God for all he's done. At the 2022 Festival of Praise. Tickets at whynottix.com.
This Hot 91 Safety Holiday Drive tip is powered by Cooper Hurley Injury Lawyers, 333-3333.
This and every holiday season, don't you look forward to seeing your family and closest friends? Of course you do. Okay, let's agree on a few tips for your safety. Don't text and drive. Watch your speed. And a real good one, be patient. Finally, I ask that you do not drink and drive. Have a safe holiday weekend from Cooper Hurley Injury Lawyers and Hot 91, the soul of VA.
Cooper Hurley Injury Lawyers, 333-3333.
Welcome back. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. Once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us here on the campus where we are broadcasting live of the Norfolk State University, home of the Spartan Nation, at the new sound of Hot 91, the soul of VA. Here in the month of December, we're looking at our end of the year review series of the great things that have happened to not just the Norfolk State University Spartan community, the city of Norfolk, or the Hampton Roads region, or the Commonwealth, but really across the country that have impacted us in a positive way. It's been a trying 2020, 2021, but we made it through. We've celebrated our graduation 107th commencement exercise on yesterday, where Dr. Pharrell Williams was our commencement speaker and was also made an honorary member of the Spartan Legion Band that it helped to inspire him to be the music genius that he is today. We also celebrated our very own producer here, Marvin Folks, also known as DJ Scandalous, for being a two-time graduate of this institution. And he said he's not done yet. He's going to be the example to help increase the percentage of black men in tech, which now currently stands at 7%, but it's 7% point something because now you're a part of it. So,
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So, hats off to him for what he's doing. And also we talked about the great things that are happening here on the campus in our end of the year review of our leader, Dr. J, and what she wants the community to be, the NSU community to be involved with in the greater community in partnership with her and Mayor Kennedy Alexander. Also, the great things that are happening to our athletic team, the basketball team, and also our Spartan Legion Band. And I've got to give a shout out. I can't stop with just athletics with our basketball team, but I got to give a shout out and hats off to our football team, Coach Odom in his first season. Listen,
great job.
If this is a glimpse of the success we're going to have, I think we're going to have a lot of MEAC championships.
And raising awareness. He uses his voice.
Absolutely. Raise awareness for positivity. As a matter of fact, I knew of Coach Odom very well because he was the coach of Southern University football team and the all-time leading SWAC rusher is my good friend's son and my former Sunday school student from back home. So he coached him, and we knew what we had in him down at Jaguar Nation. But he's up here now with us at Spartan Nation. I'm not saying because I'm here he came, but I'm just saying great things are happening, right?
Can we give Jawan Carter a shout out?
Absolutely.
Were you going to say that?
That was next on the list.
Oh, my goodness.
Because, listen, great coaching creates great players, and Jawan MEAC Offensive Player of the Year, and the recognition that he received also at the annual dinner that he was at, where he got a chance to meet Peyton Manning, Tony Romo, and all the great things that's happening to him. Jawan, hats off to you. Congratulations to all the success that you're going to have. And listen, he was Offensive Player of the Year, but we also know that it's a team that helps to make these things happen. So hats off to all the receivers.
That's right.
That caught all those passes, that gained all those yards after the catch. Hats off to the offensive line. Hats off to the defense. Hats off to the coaches for helping to make the team what it is. And Jawan, you are an example of that as well. So hats off to all of them.
Congratulations to all the student athletes. I know that's tough.
Yeah.
To have to be a student athlete and go to class and keep up your GPA to stay on the team. So congratulations.
And then lastly, with athletics, hats off to the track and field team.
Yes.
That won the MEAC championship for it. So hats off to them, for what they're doing in track and field and their champions. So it was a sweep for us. Great things are happening. So here in the second half hour, we're going to shift to great things that are happening in policy, more specifically through the governor's office on his thank you tour. And we're going to start right here again at the Norfolk State University on this campus. Just last week, we hosted Governor Northam and the Secretary of Education, Fran Bradford, who is a friend to this institution. She is a friend of mine and just always doing phenomenal things for her, and also hosted our very own Secretary Grinley Johnson, Secretary of Administration. And we're going to talk about the announcements that were made. But here, the governor chose Norfolk State University to make the announcement for support of HBCUs, and more specifically, public HBCUs. So here we hosted Governor Northam here in the Lyman Beecher Brooks Library Rotunda, along with Dr. J, two of our phenomenal students, SGA President, our student leader, Jalen Drury, and Malik Watkins.
Malik.
Yeah, absolutely. Malik's doing, I call him Mr. Delegate, so watch out. Yeah. Next delegate coming down the row.
He's graduating in May.
He graduates in May. So he's an example of what NSU is. In addition to that, we also hosted President Abdullah from Virginia State University. Also, we hosted the Secretary, as I stated, of Education, Fran Bradford. Of course, Deputy Secretary of Education, Kathy Burchard, was here, and also Secretary Grinley Johnson. So at the announcement here at the library, Governor Northam proposed increased funding for Norfolk State University and Virginia State, totaling $277 million. Wow. $207 in funding for operating costs and building construction. All right, building construction. And when you break those numbers down, I'm going to break the numbers down first, and then we're going to get to the impact of this. So when you break the numbers down, we're looking at Norfolk State University receiving $164 million in our operating and building costs, and Virginia State receiving $113 million. But in the total budget of $297 million, where $20 million is shared between, well, actually, TANF, a TAG program for, not TANF, but TAG for private schools, both for our two private HBCUs, Virginia Union and Hampton University, increased that from $4,000 to $5,000 for incoming students. And then in addition to that, $10 million that they would share for various costs. But let's get back to NSU, because NSU received the lion's share of this funding as Virginia's largest HBCU. The budget also allocated an additional $20 million in 2023 and $20 million in 2024 to increase the affordability for both Norfolk State and Virginia State, which means that more students will be able to have access to a high quality education thanks to these state funds tied to what's called the HBCU Opportunity Fund. That's a game changer. That's a game changer. So what does that new construction mean in operating costs?
I was thinking that. I really was.
That means that NSU, the governor is proposing NSU will receive a new dining hall, paid in full, and a new residential housing facility, paid in full. Now, for those of you that are fortunate enough to live in the new residence facility, it is state of the art. It's a beautiful facility. Absolutely beautiful. And the planning dollars that were allocated for the new fine arts building as well.
New
fine arts building. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Now I know the fine arts building, that's right where the Spartan Legion, they practice at, right in front of that. But man, that's going to be phenomenal to have a new one. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And not just that, but we're also looking at some other things as well. So it's for the construction piece, construction planning dollars for the new preschool academy, and then also for planning details for the new wellness and health and physical education building.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
So, again, phenomenal things happen. Of course, operating costs, and these are more things will come to be broken down in this, but not to get into particulars of it, but new facilities, new operating costs, but more specifically, the additional dollars to help the affordability. And this is reported. This is information that is reported throughout the publication. So this is public knowledge. $20 million both in 2023 and 2024. That's $10 million for NSU, $10 million for VSU, so that more students can have access. So that's helping to decrease the cost. Marvin, as a student that's a 2-time graduate, paying the undergraduate tuition and the graduate tuition, right? And trust me, we're looking. We have a kid in private school, so we're paying private school tuition, college that is.
Expensive.
So, very much so. But it's worth it, right?
Very.
But what is that extra $20 million that's proposed by the governor? What does that mean for you as a student?
That means a lot to me. That's phenomenal, because big shouts out to the School of Graduate Studies, because without them, I would have had a hard time completing my master's degree. They funded me for my summer courses.
Wow.
They funded me for this past fall, full time, both times. Man, I mean, having to, deal with, the federal Pell Grants are great. The Commonwealth grants are great, but that runs out, depending on how long it takes you to complete your degree. Mm-hmm. Now you're left with X amount of dollars to complete your degree. You're right there, but you don't have it. So an extra $10 million to fund students to be able to complete their degree is what we need. And especially for the minorities, for the HBCUs. That's exactly what we need. So there will no longer be excuses on why we aren't going to school. At first it was, school isn't for me. Okay, well then it's no longer school isn't for me, or it's too expensive. I'm not going to go to school to have to take a loan out to get a job to pay the loan back. Well, this one, obviously, I don't think you have to pay back because it's going to be given to you. So there'll be no more excuses. And this is phenomenal. Thank you to the governor. Thank you to Dr. J. This is going to be a great help for Norfolk State University. Like I said, the School of Graduate Studies, man, phenomenal. So the extra funding is always needed. And we want to bring more enrollment, get more enrollment into Norfolk State University. And that's what that type of funding will do.
Absolutely. Again, affordability. Affordability is really the key, because, it was pointed out during this time that the governor was speaking. He said most students don't drop out because they don't have the capacity to finish college. They drop out because they don't have the money.
That's right.
And there's this push now where we're looking at, and our president presented at the Senate Higher Education Summit at ODU, along with President Abdullah and also the executive director of SCHEV, and 2 former secretaries of education were actually on the panel, Laura, and also the former director. And they talked about, we're an example. We're becoming an example of how do we engage learners that have actually started some degree, but actually had to stop because they didn't have the money. So they got a job, and then life happens. Maybe they got married. Maybe they had started a family. Maybe they had to take care of loved ones. And before you know it, 1 year passed, 5 year passed, 10 years have passed, maybe even 20 years have passed. How do we now engage those individuals to come back to finish their degree? This HBCU Opportunity Fund, that helps to do that.
Exactly. Yes.
And I want to get to some of the quotes here during this presentation. But one thing that Dr. J, the governor mentioned, he said, Virginia's higher education system is parallel to none. Of course, we know that. HBCUs have long been underfunded. And what he said, we have worked tirelessly over the past 4 years to fix that. So they are closing the funding gap and making college more accessible and affordable for Virginians. Now, how have they closed that gap? If you go to the governor's news release under governor.virginia.gov, basically, under Governor Northam, funding has increased 87% over his term to more than $500 million to NSU and VSU.
Repeat that one more time.
Under the governor's 4-year term, funding has increased to HBCU because he talked about underfunding. He's been a friend to us. He's a friend, a personal friend of mine. He's been a friend. He's a friend of Dr. J, a friend to this institution. Support for HBCUs have soared over 87% in this past 4 years, from past funding to over $500 million, over $500 million to HBCUs, with the lion's share going to Norfolk State University. And we can see it. When people come on this campus and they coming through the academic quad, they say, wow. I've hosted guests on campus that attended other HBCUs. I've hosted, individuals here. I've hosted candidates for public office that attend other HBCUs. And when they come on campus, of course, we go through the academic quad, and they say, wow, I wish my HBCU looked like this.
Or this was here 15, 20 years ago. I hear that a lot too.
Absolutely. So again, we're an example. And that beacon, we're continuing to be that beacon that our president talked about. And of course, what the governor is mentioning. Not only that, but I want to talk a little bit more about this budget because this is phenomenal. This is major. And I want to make sure that I mention this is proposed. So we got to put the work in the legislature as stakeholders to ensure that this funding actually takes effect in the new governor's term and the new legislative term. So what did they say? Dr. J said that it is exhilarating to have the opportunity to do the things we're setting out to do, educate our students, and right some wrongs of our past. Now, she did mention that this happened and we didn't have to file one lawsuit. So what does that mean? Our neighbor to the north, in the great state of Maryland, they have 4 public HBCUs. All the HBCUs are public. A lawsuit was filed by an attorney who is actually from my hometown.
Yes.
And a partner at a major law firm in D.C. And they filed the lawsuit on the behalf of these HBCUs. And they received a little bit over $500 million that they would split amongst these 4 HBCUs over 10 years. All right. It was signed into law passed by the legislature, signed by the governor. But we received in 4 years over $500 million between primarily 2 HBCUs, the public HBCUs, the 2 private HBCUs. Some state support has helped them through TAG and so forth. But this happened without filing one lawsuit. This happened because of good public officials using their power to do good, to right wrongs. And that's what we want. Listen, we all have done some wrong in our life. We know that this country has wronged a lot of people. But we know what the problems are. It's time to find solutions. How do we continue to make this country, the great country as it is, greater, right? So it's fulfilling that legacy of our ancestors, fulfilling that legacy of Dr. King, that dream that he had. It's fulfilling all of the good that this country is about. Look, there's bad in anything.
That's right. But
light shines through darkness, and this is what we have. And this is an example of it. Look, further on, I also want to point out a couple of things. Secretary of Education, Fran Bradford, she stated that HBCUs are critical to Virginia's higher education system, and this funding will be a game changer. Proper funding to these schools means better resources for students. Now, during Governor Northam's administration, Virginia has made the largest investment in HBCUs at $328 million over 3 years, which includes the $287 million in capital projects, which we received here on the campus, and $32 million in operating costs. Our student government president said it's so important for the government to continue to fund HBCUs, specifically our state government. Not only that, but the governor also stated that the state's budget of surplus, $2.6 billion, right, that we are doing what we're doing. So, again, this is amazing what's happening here on the campus of Norfolk State University. We're going to continue this. We're going to continue what we're doing. We're going to continue what's happening here on the campus, the great things that are happening, and we're going to highlight these things for the month of December. Because, again, we've been through a lot. But this simply shows the great things that are happening. So, again, we want to thank you for joining us here on Stay the Water. We are ending slightly early because we are broadcasting the basketball game here on the station. So join us again at 1 o'clock every Sunday here on the Soul of VA on campus of Norfolk State University. God bless.